Okay. Jefferson County Court of Law number 2 is back in session. Next two cases are cause number 332090 and cause number 332156. Both cases are style of state of Texas versus Hannah Marie Smith. Ms. Smith, is that your full name? Ms. Smith, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Ms. Smith, you're here represented by your attorney Rife Kimler. Attorney Kimler, how are you doing?
I'm blessed, Joe.
Mr. Kimler, what is your announcement in Ms. Smith's cases?
Ready,
It's on the announcement docket.
ready to set it for trial.
Okay.
That was smooth. That's
Okay. Give us a reset.
Okay, hold on.
You said February 6th? Okay, Ms. Smith, your cases will be set for trial on February 6th of 2023. The attorney, Mr. Kimler, will be given notice of your recess. Once you get notice of your reset, you'll be free to go. Stay in contact with your attorney and your bondsman. And you have a, Mr. Kimler, would you please sign it? And you have a blessed day.
You too.
Next case is Terrence Mann. Next case is cause number 332754. Case is style of state of Texas versus Terrence Coral Mann. Mr. Mann, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
How are you doing, Mr. Mann? I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. Mann, you're here represented by your attorney Rife Kimler. Attorney Kimler, what is your announcement in Mr. Mann's case?
Trial.
Give us a trial date on Mr. Mann. Okay, this case will be set for trial on February 6th of 2023, Mr. Mann. Your attorney's gonna sign for your reset. Once you get your reset from your attorney, you'll be free to go and you have a blessed day. And Mr. Kimler, I think this is your last case, so you'll be free to go as well and you have a blessed day. Next case is Rodrigo Zuniga. This is cause number 325134. The case is style of state of Texas versus Rodrigo Zuniga. Mr. Zuniga is represented by his attorney Walter Windler, who has informed the court that Mr. Zuniga speaks Spanish. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And we have our interpreter, Ms. Jennifer Araji, who will be interpreting. Ms. Araji, would you please raise your right hand? Ms. Araji, do you swear or affirm to interpret Spanish to English and English to Spanish? So help you God?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Araji, you may put your hand down. Ms. Araji, how are you doing?
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Ms. Araji, would you please ask Mr. Zuniga if his full name is Rodrigo Zuniga?
Yes.
Okay. Ask Mr. Zuniga, how are you doing? Okay. Now, Mr. Zuniga, would you please raise your right hand? Okay. Mr. Zuniga, do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, you may put your hand down. Now, Mr. Zuniga, you're here represented by Mr. Walter Windler, Attorney Windler. How are you doing?
Good, Your Honor.
That's good. Good morning. Now, Mr. Zuniga, I have before me an information, and this information alleges that on or about August 1st of 2019, while you were operating a motor vehicle in a public place in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated with an alcohol concentration level of 0.15 or more.
How much?
0.15 or more. Do you understand what you've been charged with? And to this charge, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Public, motion public. Motion. Guilty.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Now, Mr. Windler, before we go any further, do you waive a record in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Zuniga, I have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And at the bottom of this document, there's one initial says R.
That's his name.
Oh, he don't put the Z on it?
No, he just puts on.
Why? Well, I'm having put the Z. I mean, why he doesn't put the Z? I mean, this is not his signature. I just asked him for his initials of his name. Okay, here you go. We're having to put both of his initials on here.
Your initials are in Z.
Quiere que le ponga los dos en su.
And I think he had it on another page too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Zuniga, again, this is State's Exhibit Number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. Do you recognize this document? And are these your initials at the bottom of this document or a Z? Now, prior to placing your initials over this document, did your attorney, and on this document is below a paragraph that's titled citizenship. And I'm going to go over this paragraph with you.
Okay, dice que se pusieron las iniciales abajo de lo que dice citizenship, que presidente ciudadano, que le va a explicar todo.
Okay, and it reads, if you are not a U.S. citizen, a plea of guilty or nolle contendere may result in your deportation.
Dice que si usted no eres ciudadano, poniendo su firma ahí, que le pueden deportar.
Exclusion from admission to the country, or denial of naturalization under federal law. And do you understand that?
Yes.
And are you a U.S. Citizen of the United States?
¿Eres ciudadano? No.
Do you still want to go forward with your plea? Okay, now, Mr. Windler, pursuant to Padilla versus Kentucky, did you go over the consequences of pleading guilty nolle contendere with your client in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, now, and Mr. Zuniga, on page 2 of this document, there's a set of initials RZ on a line that's titled guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes.
On page 3 of this document, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes.
And on the next document that's titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
Yes.
There are 2 boxes that's checked. the first box says check states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal.
ella tiene una ahí arriba, y dice que no se puede.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
The second box says check states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You had a discovery certification. Yeah, you can, okay. You can give me that other document too, yeah. Mr. Zuniga, I have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes.
I also have a document that's titled For All Foreign Nationals Except Those from Mandatory Notification Countries. Do you recognize this document? Now, you stated that you are not a US citizen. Ms. Zuniga, what country are you from?
Mexico.
Mexico, okay. Now, this document is in Spanish. Did your attorney, did you read this document?
Yes.
Okay, now, this document basically says, at the last sentence says, do you want us to notify your consular's officers at this time? Let me do this here. I'm just going to read into the record what this document says. This document states that as a non-US citizen, let me give you the clear. That's in Spanish. Okay, this document states that as a non-US citizen who is being arrested or detained, you may request that we notify your councilors, your country's consulate officers here in the United States of your situation. You may also communicate with your consular officers. A consular officer may be able to help you obtain legal representation and may contact your family and visit you in detention, among other things. If you want us to notify your consular officers, you can request this notification now or at any time in the future. And the last question is, do you want us to notify your consular officers at this time? Now, ask Mr. Zuniga, did he read that document? Did you understand what you read? And is everything in that document, which is in Spanish, true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Okay. And to the question, do you want us to notify your consular officers at this time, which is the last sentence, you can read that to him. You circled no. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's correct. Okay, you can hand that back to me. Okay. Thank you. Now, Mr. Zuniga, before you read, now, did your attorney go over these documents with you in Spanish?
Yes.
And Mr. Wynn, I think you had a Spanish interpreter, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
And did you understand everything that the interpreter and the attorney went over?
Yes.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer States 1?
Yes, Your Honor, state officer state one.
Any objections, Mr. Windler?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Windler, you have advised and counseled. Mr. Ball, counsel, you have advised and counseled Mr. Zuniga. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial? Okay. Okay, Mr. Zanega. Your attorney, Mr. Windler, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yeah, perfect.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Zanega, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your pleas and waivers was freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty, the state is recommending confinement for 90 days, probated for 1 year. I'm not sure if I need to. If you need to.
No, that's fine. You want me to?
Yeah, you
translate
can,
from
you could translate to it. Well, do the same, no. What I'll do is I'll tell him what the offer is. Go ahead.
Okay. In exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty in this case, Your Honor, the state is recommending confinement in the Jefferson County Jail for a period of 90 days. We're asking that the court suspend imposing that sentence at the time and placing the defendant on community supervision for a period of 1 year, Your Honor, requiring the defendant to pay a $500 fine, to complete 40 hours of community service, and for the standard DWI probation condition to include the DWI education course, drug and alcohol assessment, as well as an interlock device.
Okay, Mr. Zuniga. The state is offering that you serve 90 days in the Jefferson County Jail, but you would not have to serve 90 days in the Jefferson County Jail because you'll be placed on probation for 1 year. You will also be required to pay a fine of $500 and court costs of $452, which comes to a total of $952.
How much was the court cost? I'm sorry, sir.
$452,
452. Y todo junto es
$952.
$952 que usted tiene que pagar.
You will also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month.
También una pago de $60 a producción
A urinalysis fee of $15 each month.
y unas examinaciones de $15 por mes.
You will also be required to pay the DWI education class an initial evaluation fee of $125.
También para las clases es $125. También tienen que pagar estos
On the day of the plea.
en el día de hoy.
If you are required to have another evaluation, a further evaluation, you will be required to pay an additional $50.
Que usted tiene que tener el teléfono es otros $50.
Now, the total amount that you would have to pay each month while you are on probation is $165.
Para mí, lo que tiene que pagar usted para la año de producción es $165.
Are you able to pay the $165 each month?
Y usted sí que puede pagar esto por mes. Yes.
Get at the list. And you also be required to pay perform 40 hours of community service. You'll be required to attend and complete a DWI education class. And have a drug and alcohol assessment. You will also be required to install a DWI interlock device on any vehicle that you own or operate. And you'll also be required to adhere to the other standard terms and condition of this probation. Now, Mr. Zuniga, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes.
Do you think that is fair and just?
Yes.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Zuniga, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. You're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney and follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day.
And that nothing. Sí, no más ella va a ver usted y me gusta de ver ahí. It's definitely directions on top. He needs to go this morning.
Okay, and y'all have a blessed day. Gregory L. Jones,
Judge, I just discovered something in the discovery that I've raised the issue with the prosecutor.
Oh, okay.
They're not going to dismiss. We'll probably just have to put it on the trial docket.
oh,
I
okay,
did the plea paperwork and then I realized it's an officer that's no longer with my PD.
okay, so we're gonna reset it for trial, is that what you're saying?
If they're not going to dismiss.
Oh, okay, I'll hold on,
Thank you.
Skeever Jones, okay, this is cause number 32839, excuse me, cause number 328-386, case of style of state of Texas versus Askira Tatiana Jones. Ms. Jones, is that your full name? Okay, how you doing, Ms. Jones? I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. Ms. Jones, you're here represented by your attorney, Attorney Langston Adams. Attorney Adams, how are you doing?
Doing well.
And again, it's represented by Attorney Lamar Johnson. Attorney Johnson, how are you doing?
Doing well, Your Honor. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Adams, brought to the court's attention that an assessment was done in this case.
I have a copy.
Have you received a copy of it? Did you have an opportunity to review it?
Yes, but
Do you have any objections to the finding conclusions in this document?
no,
And state,
no objection, Your Honor.
and you received a copy as
I
well?
have-
And did you read it?
I did.
And did you have any objections to the finding conclusions, recommendations in this document?
No, sir, no objection.
Okay, the court has received a copy of the collection of information form for mental illness or intellectual disability, which is the assessment that the court earlier referred to. The court has reviewed it. And the court is going to take judicial notice of the finding conclusions and recommendations in this assessment. The court, let me ask you, so before we go any further, Mr. Adams, pursuant to Article 1.24 of Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, all proceedings and trials should be public. However, pursuant to Lilly versus State 365 Southwest 3rd 321, to a public trial is not absolute and may be outweighed by other competing interests such as interest in security, or the non-disclosure of public information, or that the ensure that the defendant receives a fair trial. Now, because this document, the assessment, may have some non-public information, are you requesting that the court close this portion of this proceeding to the public to prevent the non-disclosure of that public information? Are you
Oh,
actually?
sure, yes.
Okay, the court, the defendant has advanced an overriding interest in this case in that it will disclose non-public information that will be prejudicial to the defendant. The court have found that the court has found that there are no alternative, have considered alternative methods. And the court believed that these factors and the considerations that the court has just noted are necessary to protect the interests of the defendant, and these findings are adequate to support the closure. So at this time, this portion of the hearing will be closed to the public.